Once upon a time, in a big, beautiful, magical forest, there lived a little squirrel named Squeaky. One sunny morning, Squeaky found something truly wonderful. It was the most amazing acorn he had ever seen. It was big, round, and shiny, like a tiny piece of gold. Squeaky held it up and smiled the biggest smile in the whole forest. "This is the most wonderful acorn in the whole wide world," he cheered. Squeaky was so happy as he hopped along the forest path, heading home with his precious treasure. But then he heard a loud grumble. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Out from behind a big oak tree stepped Barnaby the badger. Barnaby was the grumpiest animal in the whole forest. His eyebrows were always frowning, his arms were always crossed, and today he spotted Squeaky's golden acorn. "That acorn looks very nice," Barnaby grumbled. And before Squeaky could say a word, Barnaby snatched it right out of his tiny paws. "That's my acorn," cried Squeaky, but Barnaby just grumbled and stomped away. Poor little Squeaky sat down on a mossy log. A tiny tear rolled down his cheek. His golden acorn was gone. The forest suddenly felt very quiet and very gray. But then Squeaky remembered something his grandma always told him. "Kindness is a seed," she would say, "that grows a very happy tree." Squeaky looked up. Right next to him was a big, beautiful berry bush, overflowing with the reddest, juiciest, most delicious berries he had ever seen. And then, ping! A brilliant idea popped into his head, bright as a little light bulb. Squeaky gathered the biggest, sweetest berries he could find. He piled them up carefully in his tiny arms. Then he took a deep breath and bravely walked all the way to Barnaby's den. He knocked on the round wooden door. Knock, knock, knock. Barnaby opened it with a big frown. "What do you want?" he grumbled. "I thought," said Squeaky in a small, brave voice, "that you might like these berries. They're the sweetest in the whole forest. I picked them just for you." Barnaby stared at the berries. He stared at Squeaky. He slowly reached out and took one tiny berry. He popped it in his mouth. His eyes went wide. It was the most delicious thing he had ever tasted in his entire life. Sweet and juicy and perfectly wonderful. And then something magical happened. Barnaby's frown slowly turned upside down into the biggest, warmest, most surprised smile you have ever seen. "I'm sorry I took your acorn, little squirrel," he said softly. He reached into his pocket and held out the golden acorn. "Here, this belongs to you." Squeaky's eyes sparkled. He took the acorn and smiled. "Thank you, Barnaby. Would you like to share the berries together?" And so they did. They sat together on a mossy log, sharing the sweet red berries and the glowing golden acorn, laughing and talking as the rainbow light danced through the trees. From that day on, Barnaby was never grumpy again. He had found something sweeter than any berry in the forest, a true friend. And Squeaky learned that the most wonderful treasure of all was not a golden acorn. It was a kind heart. The end. If you like this story, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe for more magical tales. See you next time!